Greetings, everyone. So tonight I'm going to talk about narcissistic triangulation. There's so many ways that a narcissistic or manipulative person will and can use to triangulate people, and honestly, sometimes the controller or the controlling tool is something that is not a person. I was trying to think to myself how I would word this. And as of now, I'm just going to use it as a controlling tool. Like a way to get leverage. The ultimate goal of a narcissistic or manipulative person is to control. It might be to control the situation. It is most definitely to control other people. It might be to control the narrative. It might be to control your money, to control when and where you travel. And this is where the triangulation comes in. So I'm going to use a kind of boring example of, let's just say, a female friendship. And this is random. I'm not using any specific person as an example. I'm just using general statements. Say, okay, so I'll use myself as an example. I'm a female, and I have a female friendship. And I just kind of met this person. I didn't know them for that long, and I'm still kind of getting to know them. And they're always saying, well, you know, I think your sister, her hair is prettier than yours. You know, I know you have red hair, but your sister's hair is most definitely prettier than yours. Something weird like that. Or it could be, let's say that you like to, or I'll use myself as an example. Let's say I like to garden and I like to plant, and I'm just learning because I know nothing about it. I like to plant dahlias. And they know this. So this new friend is going to say to you, well, you know, my mother, she's planted dahlias for years, and it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and you really got to know what you're getting into. So there's the discouragement. And instead of being healthy and saying, you know, my mother might be able to help you, she's going to say something like, you know, like to discourage me from planting dahlias, but also to make me feel competitive with her mother. She might realize that I have a close relationship with my next door neighbor. Me and my neighbor get along really well. We're cool. We're like kind of close in the same age. We like the same music. Both single women. We like cats and dogs and things like that. And your new friend, who's just kind of scoping you out, collecting data, she says, you know your neighbor got arrested last year, right? Something to put a wedge into this friendship that you have, which also is a form, it's, the whole triangulation is also can be used as a form of isolation, like to get you away from your family, your friends, your neighbors, anyone who's going to be a good friend to you or support you. They want to drive a wedge between you. And I've also seen it a lot, especially with women, is setting up two different women to compete against each other. Like, especially if you had, like, you guys were cool. Like, you got along real well. Let's say you went to the same high school. You're from the same town. You dated, guys that were very similar in nature. Like, you're just, like, you've got these commonalities. And you've been friends, like, kind of, well, you've been friends for like 20-something years. And this new friend is going to say, well, I don't really know what you see in her. Like, her husband left her. Her job's not that great. Her children don't even like her. Something weird they're going to say to implant a seed of doubt in you. And it's really very diabolical. And pardon my French, but I feel like it's really super fucked up, because triangulation is so hurtful. It's so hurtful and painful. And a lot of times, hold on. A lot of times, especially with women, this is what I've noticed, or very like flamboyant gay males. No shade, I'm just saying. They love to set up competition. Well, I've said this already, but it's so mean. It's like the whole Mean Girls kind of behavior. I think when I was younger, before I understood all this kind of, well, you guys obviously know I wasn't a real pop. Well, I did kind of get popular like the last 2 years of high school, but I didn't start out like that. And I was never one of the it girls, the cheerleaders, and that's a whole long story. But, it's like that kind of crowd. And a lot of people sort of stay in that same mindset. And it's all like, oh, you heard what Becky did, right? She cheated on her husband or something. It's always like, and like you were cool with Becky, but it's to put them down, to drive a wedge between you and Becky. Or even just, it might not even be that you're real close to Becky, but you have a high regard for her. So what they love to do is change the way that you see things. They want to change your perception. I can't stand that kind of stuff. Hold on. I'm really thirsty. Sorry, guys. Been drinking coffee and I need some water. So let me think how I'm gonna use an example of males, like more alpha, kind of like toxic alpha males. You might see toxic alpha males do this in a job. It's that whole, well, I think our society is like extremely narcissistic. I've been thinking a lot about this. And like we even have systems that are completely built up for narcissism. Even Dr. Ramani talks about that. It's like just so sick. So let's say you've got two men who are working in sales, like some type of manufacturing sales, right? And they both started at the same time. let's say they're in their mid-20s, early 30s. And they've always kind of gotten along well, like that kind of work friendship that you have. Like you're cool at the job, you get along, you're cordial, but you don't go and have beers together, you don't have barbecues together, things like that. It's just kind of like a work friendship. And you share little things with these two men. I'm talking about men. They share like little things with each other, just in basic conversations. And then all of a sudden, there's a new job posted, or whatever they do nowadays. There's a new job opening coming up. And in order to get this, I really feel like a lot of what we are told in workplaces is just complete sham and a lie, but let's just pretend. So this particular job comes open. Let's say the salespeople are divided into numbers, like salesperson 1, salesperson 2, salesperson 3, like in categories of higher categories. Let's just say a higher sales position came up. And they're both kind of interested in this job. And let's say Roy feels like, yeah, I'm going to apply for it, but whomever gets it is, I'm okay with that. But then you have the other guy who's more narcissistic in nature. He wants that job. And this guy that he's been kind of like cordial and friendly with, all of a sudden he starts acting a little weird, and he starts gossiping in the workplace. Actually, to be honest, gossip alone is triangulation. We've all done it. I've done it. But like if it goes to a point where it's malicious, and as I said, constant, that's a triangulation type thing. So this other guy, you got Roy, who's kind of a nice, easygoing guy, and then you got Brent. Brent is kind of like a go-getter and a real hardcore. And because inside of himself, he doesn't have the greatest self-esteem about himself or his abilities, he is going to jinx his friend, Roy, to make sure that Roy is not going to get that job. Rather than just standing on integrity and merit alone, he's going to set his friend up. And he does this by sharing like gossip in the workplace. Maybe Roy shared something with him about his personal life in conversation, and Brent completely like blows it up and makes it kind of something that it was not. Let's just say maybe he said to him, "Oh, my youngest just became, he just became a sophomore, and he didn't make the soccer team." And so Brent is going to take that and like make it real bad. He's going to say, "Oh yeah, Roy told me his son didn't make it into soccer, and that's because he wasn't like able to take his son to all the practices," or some, bullcrap like that, right? So now everybody in the workplace can be like, "Damn, Roy's a shitty dad." You know what I mean? So even though those kind of things shouldn't cross in work, they do all the time because we're human. So gossip is definitely used in the whole triangulation. I think that's like a huge key to it. Now, I wanted to talk about how other items or objects can be used in triangulation. Trying to think of an example. Let's just say you have a lady by the name of Betsy, and she wants to buy a Ford pickup truck, right? She's got the Ford pickup truck in her mind. She'd like it, some tone of green. She's been researching online for a while about what kind of truck that she wants. the horsepower and all these things, the amenities that you have to learn about when you're researching to purchase a truck. And her husband, Dave, who's narcissistic, he starts to tell her that she's not really worthy to have a truck like that. That he knows this guy, Eric, that has a truck like that, and he's a truck driver. He knows how to work on trucks. He's a big, brusky guy. He can handle the truck. And then, even though he's using a person in this, he tells his wife, Betsy, that she's inept and unable to handle a truck like that. She's not up for it. So, and discouragement totally goes along with triangulation. It's whatever element or item, tool maybe, you might use the word tool, is going to be used for the manipulation at hand. And when you're talking about triangulation, it's usually one person against the other, even though the parties never agreed to it. In fact, I was watching a BJ Investigates video, really interesting, about this. It's one of those anonymous channels, and this is going to all tie in. This anonymous channel where this guy was talking, he had worked in the hotel business, the elite hotel business, really some sick stuff over there. And he was saying how hotel management is set up, like in the housekeeping staffs, is specifically, I forgot what term he used, but it was like some type of a divide and conquer, pitting them against each other so they would never be united. Triangulation is exactly the same. It's actually Hegelian dialectic, 100%. So, as children or teenagers, all of us know how that worked in high school. And like I said, I kind of got a little popular because I got out of my shyness. But we all know you had the jocks, you had the drama queen, or not drama queens, but drama club, the artsy fartsy, and then you had the rejects, like the whole movie, The Outsiders, right? And really, if you talk about the news stories forever, they're always pitting people against each other because that's easier to control. So narcissists on a lower level, they do the same thing, or a manipulative person. You don't have to be called a narcissist. It can be just a person who likes to manipulate. Cops do it, dirty cops. So I'm actually going to do a little more thinking. I know there are other ways to triangulate. I'm trying to think of, I actually think in some ways an event could be used to triangulate someone. Let's say, this is so cheesy, but I'm going to use it. Let's say you're a young lady that wants to go to prom. And then there's another Miss Popular, Miss Cheerleader, Miss Perfect. We all know, no offense, you guys, but seriously. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, all that stuff. A more manipulative, narcissistic person is going to say, why do you think that you're good enough to go to prom? You're never going to be as pretty as Ashley. You're never going to have as blonde a hair as her, whatever it is. But the actual event of the prom is the catalyzing tool that's used to manipulate. So I think usually you do have to have another person to triangulate, but I know for a fact people have triangulated dogs, cats, everything. These people are sick, man. It's all about hurting people and controlling. And that's the way they control, is by hurting you. So I hope this is a good start. I didn't really want my channel to be 100% narcissistic, and I've been, about narcissism, but I've been looking at my analytics. They're interesting. I'm definitely going to be sticking with Scientology stuff or ex-Scientology, and I would encourage people to subscribe. If you like, I'm not going to force anyone, but it would definitely help me in this channel. And I've always suspected from day one they'll eventually take my channel down. So it is what it is. I'll go on, and I do appreciate you guys listening. And I want to share whatever I've learned, because I'm not perfect. By far am I perfect. So I hope you guys have a good day or a good night wherever you are. Peace.